What is up, guys? It's Mason once again, and like I promised, I will be looking at other games from the 13th President's Cup. Now, I chose this game because the result was interesting, and at the same time, it was in an opening that I do play, albeit with a few variations. But it's a game between Ghana's former national champion, FIDE Master John Kojo HASFORD, and a complete newbie. Not a newbie to the chess game or to the chess scene, but a newbie to the FIDE rated tournament scene. I'd been telling him multiple times in our conversations that he should really consider playing in tournaments if he really wants to improve. So this was the first tournament that he played in. And yeah, it was a very interesting match to watch. So without much ado, we're going to jump straight into the game. So here Morris plays as white and HASFORD plays as black. So to start with, we have d4, knight f6, knight c3, Dejubava London, and HASFORD plays d6, which is a very interesting approach, right? Now, in London system structures, you're expecting, for example, the bishop come to f4, and oftentimes the point of this is not necessarily to play the move e5, but rather to prevent the key idea of the London system in which the knight jumps into e5, which is a very good square for the knight to jump to. So most often when I see people play this, that is often the idea behind it. But this gives white the ability to play in a certain way, because oftentimes if they don't go d5 and they play like this, they are often going to play a modern structure. So white then goes with e4, taking over the space in the center. Now we have g6, and then white plays bishop to g5. I think that resembles more of a Tory. So if you've watched my streams or many of the games I post, you'll notice that I often play here bishop to f4. And you are going to see a very interesting thing with bishop to g5. I'm actually considering even thinking about adding this line to my repertoire because it's very interesting. But the other thing about this is it's prepared. I heard him speaking to someone after the game, and it was like this was a line he prepared against HASFORD. So you have to expect it and play in such a way, right? But I mean, you can still play it against like anyone. So bishop to g5, and you see a lot of like nice. We're going to really dissect this, right? So bishop to g5, bishop to g7. And oftentimes you want to wait for your opponent, right? The idea is to go queen to d2 with ideas of bishop to h5, h6, then you go h5, h4, and go for like very strong attack. So sometimes to not give a direct idea of what you are going to do, you might play like a waiting move, like bishop to e2. And then once your opponent castles, then you go for the idea, if you so please, right? Or you can even go for it straight away. But here, Morris plays a different idea. E5. And this idea is very suspicious because I think this idea should not work. And the reason is not because I've played it myself, but we'll jump back a bit. When you play the King's Indian defense, right? I recall there was a game I watched on a channel, and it was Bobby Fischer playing against someone. And in the game, his opponent, after Bobby Fischer played d6, played e5. And it was considered bad. I don't know if it's the correct line, but oftentimes it's considered that playing this specific line in the King's Indian defense is actually very bad for white. So I've kind of like held that as a principle in my head, that it is just bad. But you go to see that this move is ultimately going to be deciding a lot of how the game is going to be played from this point on. So here there are many things you can do. For example, you can take, and if takes, and then the knight, let's say, where does the knight go? Knight might have to jump back. Now, is black safe in this position? Yes, but then you notice that white is much more active, and then black seems very cramped. Does black have chances? Yes, black definitely has chances, but white is definitely pulling a lot of stops here. Another thing you could do is, after your opponent takes, you could play knight g4 in this position. Wait, what? Where are my lines? Where is it? I can't find the line. Not takes. There's a very funny line I'm trying to remember here. I think it's takes, and instead of trading immediately, you go this way. And this allows your opponent to take as well. And after that, we have castles queenside. And then Engine thinks this position is much better than the first variation that we showed. Right? So there are many ways you can go about it, but you may not feel comfortable playing this as black, as a human. Right? The engine is saying it's cool, but you may not enjoy this position as black, which is basically what you want, right? If you've prepped this against your opponent, basically all you want is that you want to put your opponent in a position where you don't know what's going on, and then you have much better experience than them, or you put their pieces in a position, you put their pieces in such a way that they find it difficult to develop, right? Giving you all the activity in the game. So if anything at all, with this move e5, white seems to get everything that he wants. Black here plays knight f to d7. We have e takes d5, e takes d6, sorry, c takes d6, still trying to hold on to this square. And now it looks like he's actually preparing to play e5, right? How he played it. And also, now this opens ideas of the queen coming in to put pressure on these pawns, since they see. We have knight to f3, which is something you would want to play, especially with the idea of this coming in. Okay. And then we have h6. h6 is often a good move in these modern type structures. It makes your position very solid, but may not be actually good here. You can see that black, by playing this move, black basically tells white that he feels all the pressure and he wants to play in a specific way, right? You could actually ignore this. You could actually ignore this and play something else, right? Knight to c6, queen to a5. You could actually play these ideas, but it feels like he's uncomfortable allowing he's uncomfortable with the pressure on his queen here and decides to try and deal with it immediately, and that's why he plays the move h6. Anyway, bishop goes to e3, castles, and then queen to e2. Like I said, there is a main idea, right? On stream yesterday, someone asked me, how do you prepare? And I was like, look at the main lines, learn the main ideas. And this is a main idea. It's not just because you want to castle queenside that you play this move, but that this bullet or this cannon set on this side is going to really stress your opponent out, and you are going to see how like white really stresses out his opponent here. It's almost like you look at the game and you realize that black just seems to be responding. So we have king to h7, which is common to defend against these types of attacks. Then we have castles queenside, get the king to safety because you're about to do something very crazy to your opponent here. Knight to c6, now he's trying to bring pieces into the position, but you can see that as compared to the available defenders that black has, white is much more prepared. Classic move, like I mentioned, h4, h5 to prevent the pawn from coming forward even more. But what do you realize now? Look at this position. It's full of holes. It's completely full of holes. There are so many like ideas that can come into play, like over here. For example, the bishop coming in here allows possible sacrifices on this square if you wanted it, right? But then white doesn't take a break here. He doesn't say, okay, let me slow down here. He immediately goes g4. You have to respond, right? Because you go pawn takes. It's not that I'm going to move my knight here with check. No, I'm going to open more lines, because the more you try and sacrifice, the more your king becomes unsafe and the position just does not work for you. This is just one of the many ways it can go wrong for you, right? This is just one of the many ways it can go on wrong for you. Then there's also, okay, if my opponent plays this, I would just play, for example, where's the move? You could also go, wait, what is it? Yeah, you could also go knight to f6, which is what black did here. And it still doesn't matter because you're going to play g takes h5. And after the knight takes, it's just going to be very bad from here. What black does is that he starts by first playing bishop to e2. Again, winning this knight is a very good idea. Maybe I have to show some of the lines that I have played. But the point is, you can always sacrifice your bishop for, so you can always trade your bishop for this knight and continue opening the lines. The rook is coming in here to g1, just opening lines, attacking your opponent's king. And it's going to take a while for your opponent to respond to everything that you are doing. That's the point. Like, it's really going to take a while. And in some of his responses, he's going to make his like king side weak. So here we have rook to h8, predicting what's going to happen here. Knight jumps in with check and the king goes back. And it looks like black has saved himself, like black is free. No, there are so many weaknesses in black's position. You just continue exploiting them. And what's the weakness here? The f6 pawn, the f7 pawn, right? Now pressure has been placed on the f7 pawn. You might say, oh, just e6, right? Which is basically what black plays here. But then e5. And there's just nothing you can do here. It's like at this point, black is just at the mercy of white. Like at this point, especially after knight takes h5, which is like, what else can you do? Black is just at the mercy of white, right? So he plays e6 and then we have e5. Nothing you do works here. e5, you lose the knight. Bishop takes, you still follow the same line that happens over here. Taking, if you take with the pawn, you also run into this. It's just falling apart. The position just seems to be falling apart. Then we have knight to e5, right? Targeting the bishop. Here, white chooses to go to e2, which is not bad. You could also just stay here and keep the pressure. Both moves are fine. Goes back, takes, queen takes. Mind you, the bishop still can't come in here. Fine, you are defending this, but your position can't hold out. We have knight jumps back. And as you can see, this is because black misses the tactic here. Queen takes e5. And the interesting thing is that I actually saw this move as it was being played. His board was, yes, beside is adjacent. No, opposite. His board was opposite mine. No, adjacent. His board was adjacent mine. And this was my game against Paul Senyaga. So it was, I'd made my move and I just turned to look at his game. Because we had a conversation just before the game started and he was asking me questions and I was like, bro, just play what you know. Don't try and be smart about it. Just play what you've prepared, what you've learned, everything, right? So I was interested in seeing how his game was going to go. And I realized when he took this pawn, it's like some kind of relief was on his face. It's like you could tell he couldn't believe what just happened or he was excited about what just happened. And HASFORD let out a big sigh. He was not a sigh, like frustration, like, and then he resigned in this position, right? He resigned in this. It was a very interesting thing to see because this game actually is what caused Clinton to win. Because Clinton was neck and neck with HASFORD. But this loss is what helped Clinton win the tournament because all Clinton needed to do was to draw. And I think Clinton was playing, I don't know the level of the opponent Clinton was playing, but Clinton had played all the very extremely tough opponents. So I was assuming that his opponent is either average or below average. He could easily play the game against him, right? So this game actually is what decided the tournament, in my opinion, right? And it's a very beautiful game. So I kept on looking at the game. So you can step off here if that's all you want to see. But I kept on looking at the game, trying to figure out, like, how then do you stop this? Like, is there a way to deal with this? And it feels like you either have to play it like a Piet and accept your king in the bad position, or you kind of have to, for example, he does something here. After takes, yeah, he plays h6. You have to do something else other than h6. And I've mentioned some of the other things you can do. Then again, there was also the issue of allowing I mean, you go back and the same thing happens. But oftentimes, right, you want to prevent these ideas from happening. When did they exactly happen? Was it here? Then he played H. Yeah, over here you might try and prevent H for itself from happening. But it's like from this point, from the moment this move happened, it was very difficult for Black to dictate the play of the game, right? And even now, playing this pawn push is just going to put you in even more like in a much more weakened position. So it's actually very hard. The engine doesn't give it such a high evaluation at the beginning, but I think it's actually something that is quite scary that you have to like really think about, because I've really looked at the position. I can't really tell a good way to stop it, right? Maybe just the key point I saw is playing h6, that you should do something else besides playing h6 here. Another thing is you could just accept that anti-Philidor line by taking, right? You could just accept the anti-Philidor line. That is, if you take first, the engine doesn't like it. I don't know why, but you could play this whole line, allow your opponent to take, and I mean, you could still play this position. I mean, these are not very foreign lines. So like they are very scary and so on and so. You will survive, right? So not so easy, but it's quite plausible. So yeah, a very good game by Morris. He's actually put in a lot of work. I mean, I've seen him put his progress on the BCA platform, so on and so forth. So I mean, his work ethic is actually showing here. In the beginning of the tournament, he wasn't doing so well, but as the tournament kept on going on, it seemed he began to get used to the tournament. I would say, gained a little bit of confidence, and then was able to produce his results. So, very nice game. And yeah, if you enjoyed this game, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help me out. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later.